Pause the video here and gather all these ingredients first. Okay, Joey, first meal I'm going to teach you how to cook is chili. You'll see that the ingredients are a pound of lamb's mince, but you can use beef or you can use any meat supplement. And a pound will comfortably feed sort of 5 people. So half this recipe if it's just you and you want some leftovers. So pound of meat, I've got 1 onion, some ginger, some garlic, some tomato paste, 2 cans of kidney beans, 2 cans of diced tomatoes, salt, pepper, cayenne pepper, chili powder, cumin, and I like using crushed red pepper to add a bit of kick to it. So the first thing you need to do, sharp knife, take your onion, cut it from the root to the top, down the middle, like so. Leave the root end on and cut the other ends off. Now I'm preparing this, as I always prepare my dishes, what's known as mise en place, which is gather everything together and then it's simple and you don't waste time cooking it. So ends are off, roots are still here. Peel the onions. I always prepare my food, Joey, right next to the rubbish bin, because then I can just get rid of all the rubbish. Okay, this bit you need to be careful with. Put your fingers on top of the onion and slice it through. Don't go all the way to the root, just finish up a little bit before. Do a couple of cuts, like so. Turn the onion around so the root is away from you. Don't cut all the way through to the end, leave a little bit, but then make lots of little slices. Like so. Turn the onion sideways again. Now, depending on how thick you want the onions cut into chunks, you just slice it accordingly. I like sort of 1/2 centimetre pieces going in, so you've got a little bit of bite from them, but they're not too thick and they're not too wafery. So you just cut it all down, 1/2, and then the other half. Oh, it goes without saying, make sure your hands are washed before you start cooking, Joe. And I always like to keep a bowl of water on the side to make sure I can wash things up as I go along. Right, so there's half of it. I am now going to pause and cut the other half. Right, next bit we need to start warming a pan up. Got my gas on, pan on there. We've got some vegetable oil here. So I'm just going to put in a generous amount, a couple of tablespoons maybe. You don't want too much, obviously you don't want too little. We're going to let that warm up for a bit. It's important when doing the oil that it's actually hot enough before you put the onion in, Joey, otherwise it will soak up the oil and go soggy, and that's not what you want. You want it to fry off gently and go soft but not soggy. So get a little bit of onion, throw it in. Not quite there, hasn't started fizzling immediately, but we're almost there. Try another bit. There you go, see that? So it's starting to fizz immediately, so we're good there. So what I'm going to do is just turn this flame down to a low medium heat, and then I'm going to put all the onion in. Right, we want to start cooking this down, get a little bit softer. Make sure you've got a nice little spatula. Stir it around, leave it for a minute or so, and then give it another stir. But it's just simmering on the right sort of heat. Maybe we'll have it just a little warmer. You don't want it too hot, you don't want to burn it. You want it to just slowly cook off and simmer down. Whilst that's simmering, I'm going to put a tablespoon of chili flakes in. We're going to stir all that in and chop some garlic, then we're going to add that in a minute. I only put a teaspoon of chili in at this stage because Mel doesn't like it too spicy. I would add probably a tablespoon if it was me. So experiment until you get the right kind of spice you like. Right, Joey, next is going to be the garlic. So the easiest way to do garlic is you take a clove, take your knife, you put your hand flat on the back, crush it. This way the skin should just fall off it. I like to trim off the ends. And then what we're going to do is put our finger on the garlic and bend your knuckle a little bit and start slicing, and just move it back with your knuckle, keeping the tip of your finger away from it till it's all sliced up. Repeat that with the others, and then if it's not fine enough, you can just give it a little cross hash like that. And then when you're ready, add it into the onion and chili. As you can see, this is onion starting to go a little bit translucent, which means it's softening up nicely. We're almost ready to start adding the spices. Then we're just going to cook the spices in for a little bit and let it all combine. Right, what I like to do is add in a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a teaspoon of pepper, and a teaspoon of chili powder. Give it a nice spice. I like to put a tablespoon of cumin and half a teaspoon of salt. And then what we're going to do is just store those ingredients in, get it all combined with the onion, like that. See it all changing colour, that's what you're looking for. And then we're going to add half the meat to start with until that half of the meat has cooked down. So there's half the meat gone in. I'm just going to break that up, let it cook in, and once it starts to crumble out and cook out and you see some juices coming through, then we'll add the second half in. The idea is you get all the flavours into half the meat first before you put the rest of the meat in. So all you need to do is just keep pushing it around and breaking it up and let it cook down. You're going to increase the temperature just slightly now, to sort of a medium heat. Let that start cooking. And when that's cooked down, we'll add the rest in. Right, there you go. Now you can see that the meat's changed colour. The fats are starting to come out, all looking tasty. We're now ready to put the second half of the meat in. Now remember, if you're doing half the meat, you still put half in and then half in. So just repeat the process, break it all down, stir it all in, get it cooking, keep stirring. It'll take maybe 3 or 4 minutes and then we'll move on to the next step. Right, whilst that meat is cooking down, I like to add a bit of ginger in. So some people like to add it in with the rest of the spices. I like to add it in a little bit later, but it's your personal choice. We're going to put a nice knob of ginger in. So all I'm going to do is trim off the outside. You can use a peeler to do this, or if you're good, you can use a knife like this. Just get it all nicely trimmed down. And then I just like to have some little chunks in there. So if you just slice it and in your fingers, stack it up and then slice away, and then when it's sliced up, turn it to 90 degrees and just slice back the other way. You'll get lots of little chunks like that. Chop all the rest of it up and then add that in just as the meat's finishing off. Right, I've just thrown the ginger in. I'm just going to turn that heat down again. The meat's cooked up enough. Let's break up the last few chunks, stir in the ginger, and then we're going to start adding effectively is going to be the sauce. There we go, just leave that for a minute on low. All right, these kidney beans need rinsing thoroughly. I'm going to put 2 cans in. If you're paring down the recipe, just put 1. Top tip, if you have got tins of beans and fruit or tuna or anything in a drawer, write the name on the top. That way you can see what it is without pulling the tin out. Good way to organise your pantry. All right, I'm going to clean these, then we're going to put them straight in with the meat. Right, this is all looking good. So now, in go the kidney beans. We're going to mix all those in, nice and thoroughly. And then we're going to add the tomatoes and some tomato paste. Right, the tomatoes are going in. And then I'm going to use this tin and put a tin of water in as well, just to allow it all to combine and give a proper sauce. And then I'm going to add in some tomato puree. I've got these little cans of tomato puree. There's 6 ounces. I like to put half a tin in when I'm making chili, but again, it's down to your own taste. Right, that's the water, tomatoes and tomato paste in. We're now going to turn this up and we're going to combine all these ingredients. We're going to bring this to the boil and then set it to simmer. I'm going to put the lid on it for a bit and simmer it for probably half hour, 45 minutes on really low, just to let all the flavours combine. And then we can have a little taste and see if we need to add something else in. But it's starting to really take shape. Right, this is now boiling away beautifully. So we're going to turn it right down. Give it a quick stir. There we go. Let's put a lid on it. Let that go. Whilst that was cooking, I used my time to clean the surfaces down and then look at the rice. So I like to use black rice, but you can use basmati rice or brown rice, whatever you prefer. As you probably know, I use these little bowls to measure out because they're quick and easy to clean, but I have measured this for you. This is 1 cup of rice for 2 people, so up and down however you like to go. I like the easy route. I use a rice cooker and you put it on the brown rice setting for the brown rice. Press the button and away it goes. But I do like to rinse my rice first, so I'm going to rinse this off and then it takes about 45 minutes to cook, so I can put it on later. Don't forget, Joey, even though it's cooking down for 45 minutes, every now and again, take the lid off, give it a quick stir, make sure nothing's burning or sticking to the bottom. I've got my cooker right down on almost its complete lowest setting, but when the lid's on, the heat does build up, so give it a stir sort of every 5-10 minutes. Right, Joey, if you don't know how to clean rice, I do it in my little dish that I use for cooking the rice. Let some water run, and then just tip the water out. A little bit of husks will come with it. Don't go too far, it will fall out. Rinse again. And depending on what rice you use, you need to make sure that the water is clear and not cloudy. And then when I'm cooking this rice in the rice cooker, just in case you buy yourself a rice cooker, I like to do it just so there's a thin layer of water above the rice before I put it in, as you can see. So that's how I like to do it. So you just fill the water up just enough to cover the rice, and then when you put it in the machine, turn it on, it should come out perfect. You can always boil this in a pan, just read the back of the pan for instructions. Try not to overcook it. The reason why I like black rice and brown rice is it's got more of a bite to it, more of a crunch to it. It's a little bit nutty in texture, so I really like it compared to basmati rice. And there you go, Joey. That's how it should come out. Chili black rice. Tick.